What's up, everybody? Rob Ferretti here, and one of my current Lamborghinis here is this 2019 Lamborghini Huracan Spider. I have two of them. One of them doesn't look so good right now, and I still haven't got that insurance claim settled out, and it's going on almost a year now. Whole nother video, whole nother story. But you might remember I used to have that black LP640, right? And I had it for 2 years, lost a little bit of money on it, but I had it for 2 years, and it's got an even, I don't want to say better story than it already has, but it's got another chapter has flipped. So to start, the car's obviously got a pretty cool history anyway, just because I got to sort of romp it around for a couple of years. And on top of that, it was in both 22 Jump Street. It was wrapped orange in 22 Jump Street, but it was a Lamborghini that was in Puerto Rico. And they had it in Puerto Rico for a month with Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. They filmed the movie down there. And then it was wrapped like a pizza slice. It had the pepperoni wrap on it for a while. So, I mean, right there, you got a car with a pretty wild history. And fast forward now, I sold it, and I think I sold it for like 135 grand. Now, I stand by my statement that that car is, it's a great car. I mean, the V12 Lambo market, I mean, look what a Diablo costs or a Countach costs now. These V12s, they go up. I mean, it's cyclical. They come down for a while, they hang, but then they go up and they're worth a lot of money. This one is now for sale on Copart. And somebody said, oh, Ed from VinWiki dropped me a message. He's like, hey, your car is up for sale on Copart. And I was like, oh, yeah, no kidding. Look at that. And it was just, he sent me like a little screenshot. I just saw the black car. So I went on Copart, typed in like Lamborghini 2007. I see the car stripped. I'm like, oh my God, like there's no body panels on it. It looks like the thing got wrecked out, front, back, sides, touch them all. And then I wanted to just verify before I go making a video being like, my car was wrecked, look at this. I went and verified the VIN number, and it turns out when I searched, there's two 2007 LP640s for sale on Copart. One of them being mine, which is not the wrecked one, or my former car, not the wrecked one. So how did it get there? Now you look at the listing, bidding is at like 288 bucks right now. Buy it now 130, which is a pretty decent price if there were more variables that are known. Right now, it's a TMU because there's no odometer and there's no keys. So how does it end up in Philadelphia Copart with no keys, just say 2 or 3 years after I sold it? Well, I sold it to a guy named Vlad out in Brooklyn. He's got Brooklyn Motors. And he ended up selling it to another guy who he thought was a little shady. And he went to the bank, got the cashier's check with the guy, and didn't give him the car even until 7 days after the cashier's check cleared. So he was at the bank while he was getting the cashier's check. So everything seemed legit. It was another dealer, bought the car, and same thing. I think he paid like $130 for it. Paid in full, but never got the title, got everything, never registered it, I guess. And fast forward, say, a year later, and he gets a message, the guy Vlad, who had the car previously, like, hey, I've got this apartment. I rented it to this guy. I evicted him. He didn't pay his rent. He disappeared, and he left this car here. And it was my Lamborghini. It was just abandoned in this like apartment complex in Philadelphia. And she's like, you're the last person on the paper trail because the guy never registered it. Like, I don't know what to do. You got to get this thing out of here. The woman couldn't get in touch with this guy. She couldn't get him on the phone, couldn't get anything. And this Lamborghini was abandoned. And he owed her all this money. So essentially what ended up happening was she called a tow company, called the cops to ticket it and tow it eventually. Ended up in a storage lot. And fast forward $15,000 in storage fees later, Vlad was like, oh, maybe I'll try to get the car. And because he was the last guy in the title. Nobody wants it. He'll go make a claim, pay the $15,000 in storage for it, get the car back, get another title. But they wouldn't release it because his name wasn't on the title. So he would have had to flip the title into his name, et cetera, et cetera. It would start with like the sequence of duplicate titles. Now, what happens when you fast forward? When he went and got a duplicate title and contacted, it turns out the guy who owned it went to the tow yard to like, oh, another guy was here with the same paperwork. Oh, well, if that's the case, then like if that guy's actually coming to claim his car, finally let him have it. So Vlad let it go. And now fast forward, now the car's up on Copart. So obviously the guy didn't go and get it. The car was probably sold through some auction to somebody for the storage fees. And here we are, the car can now be yours. Vlad, I sent him the link on Copart, and he's like, look, the car looks the same. I don't think the guy really drove it. And because it's covered in dust, he's like, I think the car literally just sat for a while. So it's probably got similar mileage and just no keys. That's why it has no keys, because the guy who owned it probably just abandoned it and still has the keys. So you would buy the car. Now, it's tough to put a value on it, but it's probably not a bad car to get. But I don't know if the guy parked it because maybe something broke and he just left it like that. You'll see in the ad that the doors go up and down. That's because the door locks never worked on that car. It would never actually lock. The alarm would go off, but it would never actually lock, so you can open it up. There's a little damage in the front bumper. Could have been from the towing it back and forth or whatever. But all in all, the car looks pretty representative of what it was when it left my possession, went to Vlad, and went to this guy. So if you want a car, I mean, if I were gonna personally buy it back, I'd feel safe at like 90 grand, maybe a hundo. That gives you plenty of money in there to sort of get the duplicate keys, do what you got to do. But 130 even is not a bad play. I mean, if you knew what the mileage was, I'm assuming, and assumptions can catch up to you here. I'm assuming the guy didn't drive it, but the guy may have driven it 50,000 miles for all I know. But at the end of the day, I think LP640s are still in the upswing. I think it's a good car to own. And the fact that it's even available for sale just adds to the cool story of the abandoned, repossessed auction car that was once wrapped like a piece of pizza and in 22 Jump Street. So it could be yours. Check it out. I'll put a link in the description if you want to go check it out and scoop it up. But at the end of the day, to get the keys, the process isn't easy to get the keys for Lamborghini. You have to get the title. Once the title is in your name, you then have to go to the dealership, prove ownership. So you got to, if it's a company, you got to get notarized documents stating that you're with the company and you're allowed to apply for keys. Goes over to Lamborghini. Takes about 30 days to get a new set of keys cut and coded to the car. So it's not a quick process. You're going to have to tow it around. You're going to have to drag it around. And that whole time you bought it, you're going to have to be like, I wonder if this thing works or not. So you've got some work ahead of you if you do buy it. But I mean, there is a price that makes that worth the risk, paying what you'd pay to get an 04 Gallardo for an 07 LP640, and it was mine. It doesn't seem like a bad play. So check it out. Link in the description of the Copart auction. If you do buy it and update it on VinWiki, I'd like to see where it ends up. It's cool to sort of follow previous cars through their life cycles and see what happens. And ultimately, like, if I didn't need the money at the time, I probably would have held on to that car. I think the LP640 is a good long-term play if you, as I said, look at the value of the Lamborghinis over time. But it wasn't my time to keep it. I had too many cars, and I had to start focusing on building houses and stuff. So stay tuned. Rob Ferretti, thanks for watching. Again, send me emails so I can sort of keep tabs on that car as it goes through its life cycle. Other than that, thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Can't really go wrong with that noise. I don't know. Like, every time I think I want to buy a Lamborghini, but I'm gonna buy like a V10 convertible that I can cruise around in, like a 560. But then you show up to something like this. The V12s are where it's at, man. They sound awesome. It's just like all you want to do is rev it up like these guys. You put your doors up, all the stuff that other people can't do. It just V12s are where it's at, baby. And traffic responds to your V12. A Lamborghini Gallardo can sort of get lost in the mix. You don't get that way. Love it. That's the best part about this shit. All right. Well, this is probably the cheesiest thing I've done in a while. Haha, funny, I know. I teased this car on Instagram while we were wrapping it in the pizza livery. It's going to be going to different college campuses across the not the United States, but the East Coast primarily. If you go to the Push for Pizza Facebook page, you'll see what colleges they're going to be at. You can check out the car, you can download the app, you can get yourself some pizza. All good things. Now that answers the big question behind everyone's screens. What the hell is he doing with pepperoni on his car? Now you know. Check out the app. Thank you for watching. So you guys are familiar with my other company, Adventure Drives, right? Well, this year we've got 2 trips coming up. One which is starting in Seattle and ending in Jackson Hole in July. That's going up through the Canadian Rockies, coming down through Banff, Yellowstone, Glacier National Park, and Grand Teton National Park. It's going to be phenomenal. Also, we're going to be going to Scotland in October. We're going to be doing Scotch distilleries, playing golf at St. Andrews if you want to do that, walking around, seeing lakes, waterfalls, driving the North Coast. It's going to be an amazing trip. Prices start as low as $2,500 per person for the shorter trip in Scotland, about double that for the longer trip in July. If you're interested in going, check out the link in the description.